2022 Mini Cooper SE Electric. Is it worth buying over other electric cars? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. When it comes to electric cars, most people think of brands like Tesla. It might be a surprise to learn, though, that Mini was actually one of the earlier car companies to introduce an electric car with the Mini E over a decade ago. Even though it was only available to lease in very limited numbers, it did serve as an early testbed for electric car technology, and it paved the way for future electric cars, including the BMW i3, which was BMW's first go at a fully electric vehicle. And now the company has come full circle, introducing their own fully electric version of the Cooper, known as the Cooper SE. The question, though, is it worth considering the Cooper SE Electric over other comparable electric cars? Well, make sure to stick around to the end of the video, because that's what we're going to find out. So first off, unlike the gas-powered Mini Cooper models, which are available in a variety of different body styles, including a 3-door or a 5-door, and the Countryman SUV, the Cooper SE is only available in the 3-door hatchback, which does somewhat limit its practicality. Even though the 3-door hatch is definitely the most traditional and iconic version of the Mini Cooper, it's also by far the least practical, thanks to a tiny backseat and cargo area, which definitely limits its appeal. On the bright side, though, I think this might just be the most fun to drive version of the Cooper that you can buy. Because of its small size and relatively lightweight, this thing feels very tossable with nimble handling and great body composure. Now, that's obviously not too surprising to hear about a Cooper, but I think this electric version might just be the most fun to drive one of all. Because of that low-mounted battery pack, the SE has the lowest center of gravity of any Cooper model, which gives it much better body control, making it even more fun to drive. Not only is it super nimble and fun to toss around, but it makes a surprising amount of power, 181 horsepower and 200 pound-feet of torque. And because all of that torque is delivered instantaneously off the line, it is surprisingly quick. The SE has a 0 to 60 time of around 6 seconds, which makes it about as fast as a Cooper S. But because of all of that low-end torque, it feels a lot quicker than that. So when it comes to the driving experience, there's no question about it. This is exactly what you would expect from a Mini Cooper. Now, anyone who's a regular viewer might know that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Minis when it comes to reliability. They tend to cost a lot of money to keep on the road long term, thanks to higher than average repair costs and below average reliability. But I think electrification might be the answer to giving Mini a newfound level of reliability that it's never had in the past. Because electric cars are mechanically pretty simple, consisting of just an electric motor and a battery pack, there's a lot less to go wrong down the road. So I would definitely feel a little bit more comfortable buying one of these over any of the gas-powered versions of the Mini. Now, even though this is a very fun to drive car and it might just be the best version of the Mini Cooper that you can buy, there are definitely a few major issues with it. The biggest one has to do with the driving range. Now, because the Cooper SE uses the exact same electric drivetrain from the BMW i3, which has been around since 2013, it doesn't have nearly as much battery capacity as much newer electric cars. It only has a total driving range of up to 110 miles or 170 kilometers, which is pretty underwhelming. Other comparable electric cars like the Nissan Leaf, the Chevy Bolt, the Hyundai Kona Electric, or the Tesla Model 3 have at least double the range, making them much more usable on a daily basis. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I only drive around 50-60 miles a day, so if I'm able to charge the car in my driveway every night, I could make a range of 100 miles work. And while that might be true, when it comes to electric cars, there's a lot more that you need to consider. For example, even though you might get that max range under ideal conditions, if you drive in harsh winter weather with extremely cold temperatures, that could definitely reduce the range by quite a bit. In extreme cold weather with the heater blasting, some electric cars can lose as much as 20 to 30% of their range. Now, the Cooper SE does have a special heater pump which mitigates that to some extent, but it's still something that you need to keep in mind. The other thing to consider is battery degradation, especially if you plan on buying an electric car to hold on to for the long term. Batteries can degrade over time, which means that the range could drop little by little over a 5 to 15 year period. So even though you can go 100 miles when this car is brand new, who knows what it's going to be able to do when it's 10 years old? And finally, you have the issue of range anxiety. Now, while the Cooper SE is a perfectly good car to drive around the city for short distances, it's not going to cut it if you need to go on longer road trips. You really do need to plan your routes ahead of time and make sure that you have charging options in place before you go pretty much anywhere. Unlike other electric cars, which can go 300 to 400 miles on a charge and can probably go up to a week without being plugged in, you're not going to have that kind of flexibility with the Cooper SE. Having said that though, because of its small battery pack, it does charge a little bit quicker than other electric cars. A full charge on a household level 2 charger that you can get installed in your driveway only takes around 4 hours. And the Cooper SE is compatible with fast chargers, so you can get an 80% charge in around 30 minutes. Now it might sound like I'm having a bit of a downer on this car because of its drawbacks, but there are a lot of things that I really do like about it. I'm a big fan of the way that it looks, and I really like the interior design as well. It does have a few usability quirks here and there, but the design is great. It does feel very upscale and high quality, and you can customize it with all kinds of different colors and textures to give it a unique look. The technology is also pretty good as well. You have an updated infotainment system with the latest iDrive user interface, which has great looking graphics, touchscreen capability, or you can use a dial on the center console. Even though it doesn't have a lot of space in here, the interior is definitely very nice, especially for the price that you're paying. Pricing for the Cooper SE ranges from around 30 to 40,000 US or around 40 to 50,000 Canadian. And when you factor in government electric car incentives that can reduce the price by thousands of dollars, this is actually a pretty decent buy for a Mini. Thanks to the electric car incentives, it can actually cost less to buy one of these over a comparable Cooper S gas-powered model, which is pretty neat. But even though you can buy one of these for less money than other electric cars, I just don't see this being a rational alternative. It just doesn't have the range to be a realistic option for most buyers, and because it has a very small interior with a tiny back seat and cargo area, it's not going to be a good alternative to a hatchback or an SUV either. Which means that the only people that are realistically going to buy one of these are those that already have a second car and just need this as a fun city runabout. And if that's all you're after, I guess the Cooper S could be a decent choice. But if what you're ultimately after is a well-rounded electric car that's a genuine alternative to a traditional gas car, then you're definitely going to want to consider something else instead. Something like a Nissan Leaf, a Chevy Bolt, Hyundai Kona Electric, or even a Tesla Model 3 would make a much better option. All of these have a very good driving range, have a much more practical interior, and don't cost a lot more money either. They might not have the cool look and fun to drive nature of the Cooper SE, but when you consider everything else they're giving you, I think it's a pretty acceptable compromise. So let me know what you think of the 2022 Mini Cooper SE Electric. Would you consider one over other electric cars or other Mini models? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at some of my other car videos by checking out these links right over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to check out carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.